Okay, great. Well, I'll start, and then Anne Marie can fill in the gaps I leave. I just started here as the Director of Enterprise Systems at Maritime Academy about 6 months ago. So I'm fairly new, but learning fast. So Mass Maritime Academy is a really interesting school because we have cadets, and these cadets learn about the shipping industry and how to deal with the whole maritime world. And part of that is that we have a training vessel called the TS Kennedy. And the training vessel, actually, right now, they're out on sea term. So once a year, they take about 450 cadets on this ship, along with 50 crew members. And they go out and they sail down to Puerto Rico and some other islands as they learn how to maintain a ship. So part of maintaining a ship is that we have to track those hours that a student is doing maintenance, whether that be in the boiler room or working on the electronics of the ship. And previous to Accudemia, this was not a great process. This was a person who did the best they could with Excel sheets and trying to manage this information and talking to the students and a lot of kind of conversation back and forth. And did you work? And then part of that too is that this maintenance log has to be maintained because the Coast Guard wants to know for certification purposes, did this student do the hours that were necessary? And so I think a few years ago, the Coast Guard came in to do an audit, and they said, okay, here are 5 or 6 students. Get back to us what the maintenance logs were. Well, given the way this information was being maintained, it took this person a couple of days to get that information back to the Coast Guard. And it might be even longer. Anne Marie can correct me on that. And so they immediately identified that we needed a better solution for dealing with this, for capturing, maintaining this data, and then reporting it back in a way that would be more efficient. And so that's where Accudemia came into play. So then we got Accudemia, and we also got card readers. So every student has their maritime card, and on this card is encoded their ID. And so now when they go to do the ship maintenance, as they go on the ship, they swipe the card. As they come off the ship, they swipe the card. Or they're supposed to swipe the card. Let's put it that way. So when they get on the ship, they swipe the card, and this will automatically log them in as doing their maintenance hours. And the other thing that was really neat and important to us is, and the point I brought up earlier is when I said, they're supposed to swipe on the way out, they don't always do that. But thankfully, with Accudemia, there's sort of a 4-hour cutoff. If we don't see that log out by them, it cuts them off at a hard 4 hours, which was important to the program because that was always one of the issues. Unfortunately, some kids don't particularly like crawling around in the boiler room that day, and maybe they did it for a half hour and they decided they wanted to go on to do something else. And so by tracking this with Accudemia, it's really helped us to get that reporting that we need and made a really much more efficient process. And so I'm going to turn it over to Anne Marie to see if I've missed anything here with sort of how we're using that.
No, thank you, Tim. No, that's a great summary of what happened here. The Excel spreadsheet that was being used to track these maintenance hours for our cadets was just unwieldy. And using Accudemia with the database and being able to, we have that on an iPad, students could just scan in and out, and now they have very quick reports to run. They can find out how many hours a student has, up to the day. If we ever have the Coast Guard audits, as Tim said, they can get those numbers quickly and accurately, and no more kind of having to, go through this really large spreadsheet. The woman who's now overseeing Accudemia for these maintenance hours, she said it's really changed her life, made things so much easier. So we have a single center, single location license for up to 5,000 students with Accudemia, and it's been working extremely well. So as our students are putting in place all the things they need for their Coast Guard license, Accudemia has helped them keep track of these maintenance hours.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we've actually had such success with Accudemia that we're looking to expand how we use it here at Mass Maritime. We have a similar situation with our tutoring and advising, where it's people trying to use, we're a Google shop trying to use Google Calendars with the students and spreadsheets, and 25 Live is our kind of booking software, but it doesn't quite handle the sort of tracking aspect that we need it to with the storing of notes and associating tutors. It's not really meant for that. And so we're currently in the process of going to implement Accudemia for this tutoring and advising section. And we're also going to bring on a new center for that, because we want to keep the ship maintenance kind of in its own world, since it really kind of belongs there. It's really a separate use of the tool. So we were going to do that. I was talking to my wife about doing this talk, and she works at a college down the street, Massachusetts, and they have a paramedic program. And she was like, oh, wow, would that really work well for the paramedic program to be able to track the students being in there? And they're in a similar situation where they really don't have any software to help them track that. So I was just thinking about any school that has sort of a hands-on, we need to track those hours that students are doing. It really would work well for that, and it has for us. And also a secondary feature is just, we get the great reporting, but thankfully we can export those into like a CSV format, which makes it really easy for us to consume that in our enterprise reporting tool Informer 5. So then we can really start to blend together, that student data we have sitting in Colleague with that data from Accudemia, and we can start doing some better reporting on that as well. So we know if a student's coming up against, well, we got to get all these maintenance hours in before they graduate. So maybe they have to start getting down there and working a little more. So that's just a little bit more about some of the stuff that we've done with it.
Great. Thank you so much. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
I think that, it's really pretty simplistic in the way that we set it up and used it, but extremely effective. So
Yeah.
I'm sure if I have, give me a couple of years, I bet you I'll find some more things to kind of dig in
Sure.
and how we can mine that data better to help student success
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. Because I'm sure that there's some things in there that could definitely tie into student success. Like if you see a student who's not getting in the maintenance hours on the average like other students, well, maybe there's something going on there and we need to reach out to them and figure out what's happening. Or if you have
Right.
a student that's putting in too many maintenance hours and you start to see that because they're trying to do a catch up, maybe it's starting to take away from their sort of curriculum. So it could, I think there's a lot of things that we could do with this also that could help with student success and student retention, which is a real, every school has right now is struggling with that whole retention success sort of aspect. Keeping one is better than recruiting three. So
Right.
so yeah, we're gonna be. That's something I think that we can explore further with this tool, and I'd be curious if anybody out there in the community has done anything like that with looking at student data in there and using that for student success.
Right. Yeah, I would too. I think there are definitely a lot of clients who, a lot of users of Accudemia who need to be able to report on hours very quickly and very easily. And it's the kind of thing where you don't realize how important it is until somebody says, well, what do the numbers look like? And sometimes it's a situation like yours where you have like a fairly high stakes situation where if you get audited and you don't have the numbers, but even in situations where nobody's breathing down your neck or it's not like in your infrastructure already, having those numbers at your fingertips can be so important. And I think, one question I would have is, and maybe this might be, Tim, I know you're fairly new to the college. So this might be a question more for Anne Marie, but how was that implementation process? How easy was it to get buy-in? Were they like, oh yes, this is great, or was it a situation that we see a lot where change is scary and they aren't really sure how much time it's going to save them until they're actually in there?
Oh, it went so easily because the woman who was maintaining that spreadsheet, she was more than happy to get rid of it and utilize something like Accudemia, which she immediately saw was going to be
Yeah.
a huge improvement.
So with that time saved, and sometimes there can be like the person who maintains the spreadsheet is a little scared to give it up because they're not sure like what else they're going to use their time for. Do you have an idea of what, with that time saved, like what they're freed up to do now?
So that woman, she works on our ship, the training ship that Tim mentioned, and I know that she's involved in a lot of things in terms of supporting our training of the cadets. So I'm sure she had plenty of things to take up that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really what it's helped Nancy to do is to connect with the students better, to really like have conversations with them about how is it going, how are they doing. Watson said like Nancy's the ship mom, if you will, because
Yeah.
it can be pretty daunting being out there at sea for 3 months when you're from Iowa and have never ever really seen a ship, which has happened, and so I think it's really freed her up to help with student success more, to really work directly with them, get involved with them, see how things are going, because she's not sitting there having to go through this unwieldy spreadsheet all the time.
Right.
And I think what was interesting was we had the demo from Accudemia with our advising and tutoring recently. And then, when I told them, yeah, okay, we're going to move ahead with this project, the person in advising called me and said she nearly cried when she realized that she could stop doing what she's been doing because she doesn't know, because she's so unconfident with how she's doing it, and she needs the help of some product to help her do this. And she didn't know what she was going to do moving forward. She said it was like the worst part of her job was trying to
Oh,
maintain all of this advising. She just said it was awful because it would take her a week to put together the report at the end of the semester, trying to cobble together all her different resources. So that's definitely something that we're really excited to see happen. And when I heard that Accudemia can probably do the implementation in like 3 or 4 weeks, because we're already a client, we already have a lot of the students in there. So
yeah.
I'm certain that makes things move along faster. But that was awesome to know we'll have this done before the end of the semester, and so she doesn't have to go through this terrible process. So for us, I know, trust me, I've done a lot of implementation, and usually people see me coming and they don't like it because I'm going to make them change things. So for this one, it's like, yay! I finally I'm doing something where people are like, please help us. So yeah, we've had pretty good success with Accudemia here at Maritime.